I can't get enough of the story. It's a guilty pleasure. Every day there's a new revelation, which is better than the last. The ongoing stalemate between the unhappy sourpuss Ben Simmons and the Philadelphia 76ers front office continues to play out in the public square. Now, Simmons not following team guidelines, the team rules for the 76ers as he attempts to strong-arm his way to a trade. Then trade my ass. I would like to get out of here. Now, if you've not been paying attention, because you're like many that don't follow pro basketball until Christmas, maybe you've missed it. So Ben Simmons arrived and departed from the Sixer facility. He left claiming that he had a back injury, and he told the medical staff there they cleared him to practice, but he said, I can't practice there. And the 76ers are said to be livid, not only because of the back situation, but he claimed mental illness as well. And the Sixers, here's the big wow part of the story. The Sixers believe that Ben Simmons is faking all of the above because he does not want to face the Philadelphia fan. He does not want to play in the Sixers uniform. And the Sixers have a home game on a Friday here, and he don't want to play in it. And he don't want to play in any games at all. Doesn't want to wear the Sixers uniform again. And so he is pulling this, I got a bad back, oh, my aching back, and I've got mental illness. Now, Howard Eskin, who's as Philadelphia as cheesesteak, Tony Bruno, and a tasty cake, Eskin says the Sixers are going to fine Ben Simmons every game that he misses, and he was the one that tipped us off to the fact the Sixers believe that Ben Simmons is lying. So let us discuss the question. What do you make of Ben Simmons' latest antics? What do you think about this? So my take, I've got Will Ferrell, Cartwheel, and Simon and Garfunkel. We'll put all these things together. Now, to tip it off, Ben Simmons continues to throw everything he can against the wall, right? And that wall would be the Sixers logo. He's mixing and matching different strategies. It's the kitchen sink. Everything in the kitchen sink. Battle plan. So I'd like to address the latest reports in this Maller monologue. The back tightness. There's a lot to work through. So let's start with the back tightness thing. What this is Will Ferrell old school. Now, from time to time, I have told this story before, but this is how I relate to this story. Back in my early days, before I became Benny Blowhard, I was a radio stringer, which is what they call radio reporters. They don't have those anymore because the radio business got rid of them. But they used to have radio reporters who got paid to go out and do updates on games and things like that. Internet pretty much killed that. But back in the early days when I was covering the NBA, this was the perfect alibi. Players who had a little too much debauchery on the road, a little too much fun, burning the midnight oil, not ready to play, would cry back tightness or lower back pain. It's one and the same. Why is that? There is no test that can confirm a non-specific pain in your back. In fact, unless the medicine is changed, a number of doctors will tell you that the tests actually, most of the time, do more harm than good when there's a non-specific pain in your back, like tightness in your back. So if you want to get some time off as a pro basketball player, back in those days, you would say, oh, my aching back, and you would get a night off. This Ben Simmons story certainly smells like it's old school NBA. It is a house of cards situation. Now, furthermore, let's address the Komodo dragon in the room, the mental illness thing. That is a much more modern, nuanced approach. And if you were to say, toss-up question, what is more likely to work, the back tightness or the mental illness, you would go with the mental illness. That would be the one that would work for Ben Simmons. Simmons' team knows, the people around him, his posse, his group, they know that nobody, not me, not you, not the person in the back, nobody is allowed in a polite society to question an athlete if they play the mental illness card. It is a cartwheel or a back roll, whatever you want to call it, backward roll. It's out of the Simone Biles playbook. We learned during the Olympics, during the summertime, that if you quit on your team, even if it's in the middle of an event, the United States media celebrates your bravery. If you cite mental illness, CNN will do documentaries about you. The political media make you a hero. We also saw that with tennis's Naomi Osaka as well. The third rail, my man, it's a third rail. But you have a force field protecting you if you go down that road. Even if it's not true, because how would we know if it's not true? You can't prove it's not true. You can't even ask the question if it's not true. And just like I say about racism, when people bring up things that they claim are racist that are made up, like Jussie Smollett, for example, that famous story from a couple years ago.
Racist.
It waters down the real stuff. Obviously, mental illness is a big problem. I've got relatives, friends that have suffered from it. I think it's a big deal. But when you use that and weaponize that to get out of wearing a Sixers uniform, that's bullcrap, right? And the Sixers, the reason this is the perfect one, not the back injury is not going to work, but the mental illness thing can work and is likely going to be effective. The Sixers as a franchise are boxed in. They want to be woke too. They want to have a table, seat at the woke table. So they have this public-private problem. Publicly, they are the champions of player rights and mental illness and all of that. And they will never publicly question the integrity. So privately, it is more probable than not that they were the ones leaking to Howard Eskin what a fraud Ben Simmons is, and pull out your buddies in the media, your messenger pigeons, and get the word out. All right, last thing here. So do we have Ben Simmons story fatigue? I've read online, I've heard people on radio, I've seen talking heads say, I'm just so tired of the Ben Simmons story. And when I see this, I roll my eyes. I roll my eyes at this, at the back of my head. I say, what kind of broadcaster is that? What kind of reporter is that? What kind of news instinct is that? This story is solid gold. It is. And any gasbag, blowhard, opinionator that claims that this story is played out and we were tired of it and we need to move, get a grip. Palace intrigue is the bedrock of what sports radio is. It is jet fuel to sports chatter. The idea that someone could say, well, it's a terrible story. There's reports this guy's faking mental illness to get out of Philadelphia. That's a great story. I cannot wait to see what kind of fool's errand Ben Simmons turns to next. And I'm not saying the Sixers are perfect, and they're not. They're a bunch of weasels over there as well. But you've got the billionaire ownership side, the millionaire, multimillionaire ball player, and they are at loggerheads. And Ben Simmons, his favorite song right now is that old Simon and Garfunkel song, "Faking It," right? From the 1960s, that line Paul Simon had, I know I'm faking it, I'm not really making it. And that would be where Ben Simmons is at this particular point in the story.